So chapter 3 is about demand, supply, and market equilibrium. So first of all, what's the meaning of supply in Arabic? What's the meaning of supply? Oh, sorry, let's start with demand. What's the meaning of demand in Arabic? So Salim is willing. Yes. So Salim is willing to buy tomatoes. I would like to buy 5 kilos if the market price is 5 dirhams. What's the meaning of supply in Arabic? So Uwais has a farm in El Sad. He's producing tomatoes. So he would like to offer for sale 1,000 kilos of tomatoes per week if the market price is 5 dirhams. So what's the meaning of supply?
توزيع, no?
No. To offer something for sale. In Arabic, it's called عرض. Okay. Let's go to market equilibrium. It is a situation in which a quantity demanded equals quantity supplied, and the market for a single product such as tomatoes will be stable. So what's the meaning of equilibrium in Arabic? So I told you to translate some difficult words.
توازن, no?
Yes, yes. What's your name?
إنصاف.
Insaf, you are a student. You are a student. So in this chapter is the most important chapter in microeconomics and in economics in general. And you will keep the principles of microeconomics in your mind. It will be part of your culture, and you will use these principles in other courses. So after introduction, in the introduction, we will talk about circular flow of the economy as we watched in the video. And then the first part after introduction, demand, and then supply, and the last part, market equilibrium. So I don't know, I put a plan to cover the introduction, demand, and supply for our meeting today. And I don't know whether I can achieve this goal. So this is introduction. It's quite easy. Let me start with Uwais.
So should I start from the heading?
Yes, please.
Firms and households, the basic decision-making units. Firm, an organization that transforms resources, inputs, into products, outputs. Firms are the primary producing units in a market economy.
Okay, so firm, I would like to take some very simple example. So Uwais has a farm. So his farm is a business, is a firm. So what's Uwais doing? He combine some resources or inputs into products or outputs, which is tomatoes. So he has some labor, land, capital, and combine them, use them in a production process to produce tomatoes. So firms in market economy or free enterprise economy is the primary source of production. So such as in the United Arab Emirates. So we purchase most of our items from business units. Always.
Entrepreneur, a person who organizes, manages, and assumes the risk of a firm, taking a new idea or a new product and turning it into a successful business.
Okay, so who is an entrepreneur? Is the manager, the owner of a business. For example, what's called the owner of Skyline University? Kamal Buri. Mr. Kamal Buri had an idea to set up a successful business offering high quality education. Then he invested his money, whatever he has, to start a business. Today, he owns and operates a successful business or a successful university. So he's called an entrepreneur.
Stop.
So also, just one minute, and I will come back to you.
Okay.
And also, Uwais, I can call Uwais an entrepreneur. Why? Because he's risky. He assumes the risk. He set up a farm in Sharjah producing tomatoes. He's not waiting to receive a salary from somebody else. So he is the owner and manager. So everybody who's owner and manager, we can call him an entrepreneur. And actually, in our society, we need a group of people to be entrepreneurs, to be leaders, to set up new businesses. Yes, please, your question.
Sir, Ali Hassan is at the hospital. His wife delivered a healthy boy, so he'll not be able to come.
Alia, what's the name?
Ali Hassan.
Ali Hassan.
Yes.
In the hospital?
Yes. His wife delivering. مرت تربي.
Yes. Yeah, I understand you. It's okay. Yeah, I got your idea. Thank you very much.
Come, sir.
What's your name?
Rashid.
Rashid al-Naqbi.
Yes.
Uwais.
Sir, I have a question before moving forward.
Insaf.
Yeah, so the entrepreneur can be the chairman, right?
You know,
Like-
let me ask a question and then it will be clear. The problem is, Insaf, with my memory card is not working well. Who is the, let's say, president of Skyline University? It's called Professor Muhammad Ni'irat. So Professor Muhammad Ni'irat is you can say he is the manager of Skyline University. He has great skills and he's successfully operates the whole university and he's earning very good, very high salary. Can we call him an entrepreneur? This is a question to others, not to Insaf. Can we call Muhammad Ni'irat, he's a vice chancellor or a manager of Skyline. Can we call him an entrepreneur? Yes or no?
I think no.
What's your name?
Uwais.
Uwais. It's no. Why?
Because he's not the one taking the risk.
Yes, he's not risky. He doesn't assume the risk. He is receiving a salary, whatever the salary, high or low. He's an employee somewhere, regardless of his position. Who is an entrepreneur? The one who assumes the risk, whatever his position. Now, Insaf, is it clear? Did I answer your... do you know? Now, Insaf, think about whatever the business unit. It is a very big company or it is a small business. So if you run a small shop, but you assume the risk, still I can call you an entrepreneur. Okay, always.
Households, the consuming units in an economy.
Okay, so see here in microeconomics, I call customers or consumers as households. So Salim is the only superhero at home, not here. Salim is the only one who's earning money at home. My wife is housewife with a little babies. But see here, if even my single baby spending money buying toys and sweet. So all of us customers. So we look at the whole household. So for example, my household earns a salary of 10, the combined salary earned by my household, 10,000 dirhams, and we spend, let's say, 8,000 dirhams. So we look at a household as one consuming unit, as one consuming unit. It's better than looking individually. Okay, so markets, as you watched in the TV, not in the TV, in the video, in the video. So let me go to Insaf.
Input markets and output markets, the circular flow. Product or output markets, the markets in which goods and services are exchanged.
Go ahead.
Input or factor markets, the markets in which the resources used to produce products are exchanged.
Okay. So see here, we have, just for imagination, try to imagine, we have lots of markets. For each item, there is a market. A market for tomatoes, a market for onion, a labor market, land market, real properties market. So we have lots of markets. We can divide them into two groups. The first group is called output markets. Output markets, such as tomatoes market. So what happened in tomatoes market? Tomatoes can be exchanged. It's produced, sold by Uwais, and it is purchased by Salim. So tomatoes can be exchanged. Uwais will give Salim a kilo of tomatoes. Salim will give Uwais 5 dirhams. But we have, so we can imagine whatever the output. But we have another group of markets. It's called, as you watched in the last video, factors of production or inputs or resources markets, such as labor market, So Uwais, to be able to produce tomatoes, so he needs to buy or hire resources. So assume Uwais decided to hire somebody, So he made an agreement with Rashid al-Naqbi. So Rashid is going to work in his farm for 10,000 dirhams. So see here, this is a market for labor. So if Uwais, who is a producer, needs sort of resources, labor, land, capital, so he has to go to factors of production markets, not to output market. And maybe we will give more explanation about such markets. So this chart is explained by the video, and I will highlight again on what explained in the video. Hopefully you watched the video. So this diagram is called the circular flow of economic activity. So for imagination, assume we live in a small village in which there is no government and there is no interaction with abroad. We can divide this simple society into two groups. Households such as Salim and firms such as the farm owned by Uwais, and see the interaction between them. So see here, Uwais produces tomatoes. He supplies tomatoes. He offers his tomatoes in output market. The tomatoes will be demanded by a customer such as Salim. Instead, Salim has to pay money, to pay 5 dirhams. Who will receive 5 dirhams? Mr. Uwais. Also, there is another kind of interaction between households and firms in input markets. So Salim owns labor force. I'm looking for a job. So I will supply my labor force in labor market. The labor force will be demanded by a firm such as Uwais because he wants to produce more tomatoes. So Uwais has to pay a salary. The salary will be received by Salim. Assume Insaf is a landlord, so she will supply her land. Her land will be rented by Uwais. So Uwais will pay the rent. The rent will be received by Insaf. Assume Mira Al-Zar'uni has a little money, so she will invest her money in financial market, in a bank. So Uwais will borrow the money to buy capital goods. So he has to pay the reward of investment, such as interest. The interest will be received by Mira Al-Zar'uni. So all households, in this case, I assume households own all the resources such as labor, land, capital available in the society. So they supply their resources used by business sector. Business sector has to pay a reward for using these resources. So if you look at the so this is the circular flow of economic activity. Let me ask you a question. Salim is an employee in Skyline. I received my salary last week. I received my salary last week because I work for Skyline. Which arrow represents the case? So we have 8 arrows. Which arrows represents the case that Salim received his salary from Skyline?
So the bottom arrows, right?
The bottom, left
ones.
or right?
Bottom right.
Right. Blue or green?
Green.
Well done. So this arrow represents the case that Salim received a salary because I work for Skyline. So Mr. Uwais earned 5 dirhams for selling a kilo of tomatoes. Which arrow represents that Uwais, who produces tomatoes, collect or earn or gain 5 dirhams?
The top left one, green.
Well done. So this arrow represents the case. So it's quite easy. Okay. So in labor market, households supply labor, and the labor will be demanded by firms. So Uwais, as a producer, has to give wages to employees working for his business. What is capital market in very easy way? Households supply their savings, their earning, their funds in financial market, and business sector will borrow money from financial sector to purchase capital goods, and business sector has to pay rewards for this money used to purchase capital goods. We can give more explanation. For example, I'mar wants to build a new project and they need money, so they will issue shares. They will issue new shares, primary shares. They will put these shares in financial market. So Mira Al-Zar'uni will purchase some shares. So after 1 year, if I'mar got a profit from this project, they have to give part of their profit to Mira Al-Zar'uni because she invested her money in I'mar shares. But also assume Mira Zar'uni is so rich, she opened a fixed account in a bank, and this bank gave a loan to Awais to purchase capital goods, and Awais has to give interest. The interest will be received ultimately by Mira Zar'uni. What is a land markets? When households who own land offer their land to be used by business sector. So business sector has to pay rent. The rent will be received by those landlords or households, and they will use their income, which is coming from rent, to buy different goods and services. What are factors of production? We explained it last meeting. So inputs, resources such as labor, land, and capital. So now this is an introduction. Now it's time to start with demand. So see what I said, chapter 3 is important. More accurately, demand is more important. More precisely, there is one slide which is a killing slide. This slide talk about what's the difference between a change in quantity demanded and a change in demand. Keep the title in your mind. A change in quantity demanded versus a change in demand. If you understand this slide, I can guess you controlled microeconomics. You will pass microeconomics. So stay with me to understand only this slide. So Mira Al-Zar'uni Rashid Al-Naqbi.
Yes, sir.
Where are you, Rashid Al-Naqbi?
I'm available, sir.
Are you here?
Yes.
So we are waiting for you.
You want me to read?
Yes, please.
Demand and product output markets. A household decision about what a quantity of a particular output or product to demand depends on the number of factors, including
Okay,
size.
so just a moment, Rashid.
Okay.
See, please, here, what we are talking about. So keep this in your mind. It is totally, extremely simple. We are talking about an individual household, such as Salim. So Salim is going to make a decision about how many kilos of a particular output of tomatoes, how many kilos of tomatoes. So my decision, so how many kilos to purchase, to demand. So the quantity demanded of tomatoes by Salim. This decision, how many kilos, 5 or 50, depends on some factors. The most important factor is the first factor, Rashid.
The price of product in question.
Okay, so the quantity demanded of tomatoes depends first of all on the price of the product in question, the price of tomatoes, the price per kilo of tomatoes. But there are some other factors. Rashid will read them all together. Yes, Rashid.
The income available to the household, the household amount of accumulated wealth, the price of other products available to the household tastes and preferences, the household's expectations about future income, wealth, and prices.
Okay. So there are some, I'm sure all of you will remember these points. So how many kilos of tomatoes will be demanded by Salim depends on the price of tomatoes in the market, but also it depends on my income, my salary, my wealth, and it depends on the prices of related goods, and also the degree of my taste and the preferences, whether by how much I love tomatoes. And also it depends about my expectation in the future. What will happen in the future? My expectation about the future. Whether my salary will be increased or I will lose my job. Whether the price of tomatoes will increase or decrease in the coming weeks. So my expectation. And we will investigate each one in details. So quantity demanded in Arabic الكمية المطلوبة. Quantity demanded in Arabic الكمية المطلوبة. So this term is, I know it is quite simple, but it's important. Try to understand it, not to memorize the concept. What's the meaning of quantity demanded? Sheikha? Maithe? Sheikha? Maithe? عالية المهيري?
نعم أستاذ.
Are you عالية؟
لا أنا شيخة.
أنت شيخة، يحفظك الله ويرعاك. Sheikha, could you read this for me?
Yes, quantity demanded. The amount, number of units of a product that a household would buy in a given period if it could buy all it wanted at the current market price.
Okay, see here, let me reintroduce the quantity demanded in very easy way. The amount or number of units, let's say 5 kilos of a product, 5 kilos of tomatoes that a household would buy. That means Salim has a strong desire to purchase. Salim is willing to purchase. In a given period, let's say in a week, if he could buy, I have an ability to purchase 5 kilos because I want them. At the current market price, as you assume the current market price is 5 dirhams. Let me rearrange my information. What is the quantity demanded? Salim is willing and able to purchase 5 kilos of tomatoes per week if the current market price is 5 dirhams per kilo. So see here, for example, I have a desire to buy a car BMW. It is so expensive, I cannot buy it. I don't have an ability. So ignore my desire. So even I love BMW, but the problem I could not. So ignore my desire. So quantity demanded, desire plus ability. This title, look at the title. Changes in quantity demanded versus changes in demand. What's the difference between a change in quantity demanded and a change in demand? Do you know it is a sort of analytical tools? So if you understand this, you will pass microeconomics. And I will serve this title carefully. See here, first of all, if there is a change, if you look at the Uwais, let
Yes,
me
sir.
check again. Could you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's great. That's great. So we will stop explaining in 7 minutes. Okay. So what is the idea here? If there is a change in the price of the product in question, there will be a change in quantity demanded. But if there is a change in one of other factors, such as income, that will lead to a change in demand. So I will explain what I said. And I will explain many times about the same concept because it is totally important. So if there is a change in the price of the product in question, there will be a change in quantity demanded. But if there is a change in one of other factors, such as income, that will lead to a change in demand. Okay, and we will give more explanation. Now, what we are going to do, we are going to analyze the relationship between a quantity demanded and its price for a single product. The relationship between quantity demanded and its price for a single product, ceteris paribus, assume that other factors remain constant. So, عالية المهيري, sorry, شيخة.
نعم أستاذ.
شيخة, read the story in front of you.
Price and quantity demanded, the law of demand. Demand schedule, a table showing how much of given product of household would be willing to buy at different prices.
Okay. See here, if اتصالات offers a free call to France, I will call my mom who lives in France 30 times per month. That means once a day because I love mom. Always, do you love your mom?
Of course, sir.
Okay, so me too, me too. And later, Etisalat started to charge, let's say, 50 fils per call. So I have limited income. So I will call my mom 25 times a month. I will have justification. I will be busy during weekend. Later, Etisalat increased the price to 350. So I think it's so costly. I will call my mom 7 times a month. It's quite enough because now it's costly. 7 times is enough, and between them, I can have a chat with her through WhatsApp. But if Etisalat increase the price further to 7 dirhams per call, I will call my mom 3 times per month because I cannot afford this price. But if the price jump to 10 dirhams, I will call my mom once a month. But if the price jump to 15 dirhams per month, actually I don't love mom. I love my wife and I love my babies. Who told you I love my mom? At 15 dirhams, I cannot afford buying telecommunication services. I have other cheap alternatives. I can have chat with her through WhatsApp. I can send her voice message. So I will not call her at this price. This is according to my experience. Maybe if I ask, maybe Uwais loves his mom a bit more than me, so he will give something else. But the direction, See here, as the price increases, the quantity demanded decreases. Let's put these data on a curve. What I will do here, Sheikha, please, could you help me with this?
Yes. Demand curve, a graph illustrating how much of given product a household would be willing to buy at different prices.
Okay, so see here, we plot the data from the table on a graph. So I put the quantity demanded on x-axis. This is the quantity demanded. And I put the price per unit on the y-axis. So for example, if the price is 350, I will call my mom 7 times. If the price 0, I will call my mom 30 times a month. If the price jump to 15, I will call my mom 0. I will not call her. Connect between dots, you will get a curve. So the curve slopes downward as the price decreases, the quantity demanded increases, or there will be a movement along the curve. Let me repeat this point. See here, as the price decreases from 10 to 7, the quantity demanded will increase from 1 to 3. There will be a movement along the demand curve from point A to point B. Ceteris paribus. Assume that other factors remain constant. Let me repeat it. If the price increases from 7 to 10, the price increases. The quantity demanded will decrease from 3 to 1. There will be a movement along the demand curve from point B to point A. Is it clear how to draw a demand curve?